Hey everyone, this is Julius of the Goat Movie Podcast, here to introduce the second part of our narrative podcast saga involving our thoughts on the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the way we want to see them introduced, continued, and at some point ended. Last week we released part 1 where it was a whole phase of stories. This is part 2 where we're going to have a new phase of stories, or old, depending on when you first listened to this. This came out around April or May of 2019, and here it is making its comeback now. Next week we're going to wrap it up with part 3, and after we'll get into the Fantastic Four, the real saga, and after that, Secret Wars. Enjoy the video and the discussions. Let us know what you think, and have a good one. What's happening, everybody? My name is Julius.
And I'm Angel.
If you have been subscribed to us for a while, you already know that we're about that comic book life and that Marvel life, especially nowadays. I mean,
those muties.
Those muties. They're killing it over at Marvel now, man. As a matter of fact, there's nothing left to kill because they killed it. Endgame just came out.
They killed me.
Yeah.
I'm dead. I died.
They're killing the future. Avatar 2 doesn't exist anymore.
This is a pre-recording. We left it in our Iron Man helmets.
I hope you find this.
And I love you 3000.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be talking more Marvel. In January, we released a video where I was talking about the X-Men in relation to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was a fun video. I've had those ideas of how to incorporate them. Very specific. We'll have a link in the description that you can listen to part 1, phase 1, if you will. Mm-hmm. This is going to be the phase 2 that was teased at the end of that video.
Right.
Way back then. It took so long to get it done because, like, it's a big project. You know, you really want to make sure that you're doing the best that you can. You have to incorporate a lot of factors when you're coming up with story ideas. Like I was actually getting ready for production, while writing this stuff, So I think we're just gonna get into it, but we're gonna start with previously on X-Men. From Angel, go ahead. Tell the people what happened. Where are we in the Marvel Cinematic Universe of X-Men?
So this is from phase 1. Julius had a great idea. He put together 4 X-Men related films to fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Films. Yeah, to pretty much fix the X-Men, or pretty much his idea of how to introduce them. And I thought it was fantastic how he laid it out. I really love that the overall theme was the process of coming out for these X-Men, and he starts off with Scott Summers, Cyclops, conquering his fear, controlling his powers, and overcoming self-hatred. And by the end of the film, he learns to lead with Beast and Jean Grey by his side. Come on, let's get it, baby! Mm-hmm. We got to get that Scott Summers as the leader of the X-Men.
And in that first one, the idea of the Brotherhood is introduced alongside Xavier, Magneto on the same side momentarily, and the divide between mutants is established in that.
And we get to see more of the Brotherhood in the second film, which would revolve around Iceman. And the main inspiration for this film would be from the film Call Me by Your Name, because this film would be a love story. Bobby Drake, he's a young gay mutant, and he meets another mutant, Angel, who comes from a religious family.
Hey, that's you.
And both of their families, hey, that's me. And both of their families pretty much say it's a no-no to be who you are. They probably have more hatred of them being gay in general than the mutant aspect too, which I think would be fascinating. But they also have that hatred for the mutant, gene as well.
Well, I mean, look at our actual real life where there are people who argue that being gay is a choice. It's not a matter of who you are. It's what you want to do. Obviously, you couldn't apply that to like mutants.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, we don't have a fucking choice here. You know, like this is who we are.
It is a part of who they are. Yeah.
Both sides, both.
The X-Men. So from the Brotherhood from the first film, they were introduced there to kind of establish the divide between Xavier and Eric Lenscher. And we get to see the Brotherhood here. They try to recruit both of these mutants to try to make their side a lot stronger. But by the end of the film, Angel and Iceman, they're saved by Jean and Cyclops. So we get a little taste of the X-Men there. And the third film is a Jean Grey film. This is a prequel to the Cyclops movie. The biggest inspiration is the film Mandy. Julius described it to be scary. It feels like a horror movie. She's raised by Sebastian Shaw in the Hellfire Club, and Mystique, Rogue are her fighting instructors. Mm-hmm. By the end of the film, Jean gains a new perspective on the world as she learns that she is enough and she doesn't need to, reach the expectations of others. It's all about herself.
And that kind of brings in the element. It introduces the element of the Phoenix, because obviously the Hellfire Club, they're trying to get her to tap into that power for their needs and their agendas and everything. And she's by the end is like, nah, bitch. Yeah. I'm Jean Grey. I'm not Phoenix.
And she becomes a part of a whole another family with the X-Men, which I think perfectly segues into the fourth and final film of Phase 1, which is the Uncanny X-Men. This is the formation of humanity's last line of defense is the X-Men.
I'm shaking, right?
The mutants aren't perfect. It highlights the ideologies of Xavier and Magneto. We get X-Men versus Mystique's Brotherhood, and Scott truly steps up like Spider-Man and becomes the leader of the X-Men. There's a huge fight at the White House, and they become a widely known phenomenon. The X-Men specifically become a proud face of their people and a new group of heroes.
Yeah.
Overall, these films would be highlighting the idea of the X-Men coming out and letting a marginalized group of people prosper, which would be a perfect reflection of today and what needs to happen with a lot of minorities and a lot of people that are in poverty and a lot of humans of different race.
Yeah, people who deal with discrimination of any face, any style or anything like that. One of the cool things that I really liked about the pitch in the first place was what happens with Magneto, because he kind of covers the way that vets are treated in this country. There's a lot of debate about how the government just kind of leaves them after their service. They're just like bam, and Magneto obviously was retconned in the first part as this kind of a Vietnam vet. Yeah. In the original source material, the comics, he's a Holocaust survivor. He met Cap and everything through that. Obviously, that can't happen, especially if the X-Men are going to be introduced like way down the line.
Yeah, they're going to have to change it up a bit.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Feige and the screenwriters of Endgame, they've kind of teased that this incarnation of X-Men is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen before.
And I can vouch for that.
And it has to be. It has to be, especially with how Endgame wrapped up.
Right.
Endgame sets up an endless amount of possibilities for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're gonna have to change up some origins,
of course,
to fit their universe.
They have to. There's no way that they can just be like, oh, hunky dory.
The only person that works timeline wise would be Wolverine, because he's been around for centuries, and we'll get more into that when we talk about how Endgame sets up the Avengers, because it's now we have a clear idea.
You mean the X-Men?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the X-Men. How Endgame sets up the X-Men, because now we have a clear idea.
Right.
Since we've seen Endgame, the best movie of all time.
I know. When I came out of it, I wanted us to record this before Endgame, because I didn't want to have to change anything in this part 2 that we're about to do. But you should have seen me. I was checking off little things in the theater, like, okay, we're good.
You were coming on the typewriter.
Yeah, I was like, please, no.
Kevin Feige, when you got there.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good.
But the thing about Magneto, and how I love how you kind of reinvented him, was it still stayed to the elemental or the core elements of his character, because by being in Vietnam, he can see the savagery of humanity and how he doesn't want to be like that. And how they are treated post-war.
Yeah.
Disregarding that he's a mutant, just how he is treated as a human being, as a Vietnam soldier. I think that could work very well.
I think that would be amazing. And in that scene, if you watch part 1, when he's explaining his time in Vietnam, why he's like this, he meets another mutant in Vietnam, and it's Wolverine, you know. There's the
man.
cameo, you know, because obviously
God.
the cool thing about Magneto's backstory is how invested in general, right? Like in the comic books, right? He's invested in the Marvel universe anyway because he meets a hero, Captain America. But obviously that won't really happen in Vietnam, so bringing Wolverine into that scene, you know, and that's a cool tease to it.
And Magneto can have all the dog tags of all his fellow vets.
Oh, that'd be scary.
Yeah,
he's got one that says like I don't know, the head of Fox or something. Kevin, whatever. All right, is it time?
It's time.
Time.
Let's get into what you have.
Phase 2. So last time I had 4 films for your ass. This time I got 5.
Oh damn!
And this is gonna be insane.
Okay. Let's do it.
So let me just set up things first. The first phase was about coming out. Obviously, you know, the X-Men are introduced to the world. This is about the aftermath of something like that happening. One of the biggest themes that I found interesting while I was writing it is how everyone is looking for a home. Everyone is looking for somewhere they can belong, especially as a whole culture is being exposed. You know, not invited, exposed. And that brings a lot of, you know, fear and tension in people, and I think that phase 2 of this can really highlight that. So I got 5. I'm going to start on number 1 for you, and these are going to be in depth because I worked a long time on these. First film for your ass, and Ufoy is going to be happy because it's Storm. Oh my god. I told Ufoy, my friend Ufoy, who's been on the podcast, about this. I teased her. I didn't tell her what it was, but she knew. I just did the X on my chest, like boom, and she was like, "Oh, you're not doing that." So for Storm, let's do this. Okay, or I'm gonna have trouble saying this name. Ororo Monroe grew up in East Wakanda as a little girl. She always was isolated and treated differently by other children because she would play with her imaginary friend Farouk. One day, while being chased by bullies, her mutant power of weather manipulation surfaced. She caused lightning and great thunder that scared the other children. Scared herself, she ran away, never looking back. In the present day, which is the future at this point, Ororo, I'm just going to say Ro from now on. Ro is a young woman stealing to survive in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. She clumsily uses her power to scare people into giving her what she needs to survive. The people have named her the Storm of Africa. While attempting to rob again, Ro, I'm just going to say Storm from now on. While attempting to rob again, Storm is encountered by Nakia of Wakanda. For those who don't know Nakia, she was played by Lupita Nyong'o in Black Panther. The two women fight briefly, but the young mutant manages to get away by using her powers. But, you know, it's very, like, uncontrolled the way she uses her powers. It's very clumsily. It's, like, striking, and she's scared. That's why she's still running. Later that night, at Storm's little corner of the slums, she's found by Nakia. She's told that Nakia has been tracking her for months, hearing about her powers and knowing that she is in Wakandan. Like, so she does the lip thing, showing the little writing under the... I'm doing it for those who don't know. Yeah. I'm not Wakandan, but I still want to be. The Wakandan offers Storm a chance to come home, but she's denied. Nakia tells her to sleep on it. While asleep, Storm has a dream about her family, her best memories. The sound of rain is heard, along with a man's voice saying, "Go to them." She wakes up and looks at an old picture of her family, tearing it up. The next morning, Storm finds Nakia before she leaves. Waiting to go home, Nakia tells her that they need to get in control of her powers first before going back to Wakanda. You know, we can't be having some, you know, typhoons in the central city of Wakanda. You know, they need to get in control of this. So Storm agrees to the training. The two set up camp in the forests that near the city. Over the course of a week, Storm tries tapping into her powers, which are like flight, lightning, rain, wind, you know, the controlling of the elements. Avatar. Let's do it. Going from fear to will. Nakia also teaches her about caring for others as they go through Lagos, helping people of poverty. People like Storm, you know, people who don't have much of a choice in their life. One night, they sit at their camp talking about who they're going back to Wakanda for. Storm says she wants to see her family. Nakia says she won't be staying there. And obviously, if you've watched the first Black Panther film, you know that she had a romantic relationship with T'Challa, the King of Wakanda. The relationship between her and the King of Wakanda didn't work out due to her need to be helping people everywhere. You know, she's always traveling. It just wasn't going to work out. When Nakia falls asleep, Storm goes to test her power some more, but is encountered by a well-dressed man. He claims to be Farouk, the imaginary friend from so long ago. He applauds her power, telling her how proud she is of her. She doesn't believe him at first, but is convinced when he tells her about the dreams she's been having. Farouk, very charmingly, explains why Storm should use her powers to take Wakanda over, even the whole of Africa. She has this potential. Why doesn't she tap into it? She's tempted, but Farouk disappears before she can give an actual answer. The idea lingers as she goes back to the camp. The next morning, Storm and Nakia are awoken by the sound of distant gunfire. They rush to the action. In the city, there's a shootout between a local gang and authorities. The gunmen have women hostages, treating them like trash. Obviously, they're hostages. The two Wakandans arrive on the scene, getting civilians out of the area. Storm rushes into the gunfire, flying into the hostage area. She sees women beaten and bruised. One of the gunmen engages Storm, but she throws him to the ground. She recognizes him as one of the bullies from her childhood, another Wakandan who's sunk into this life. He remembers her as well, calling her a freak one last time. Filled with rage, in front of the women, in front of the officers, Storm uses a lightning bolt on him, just frying his ass, putting him into a coma. The shootout ends with the gang's surrender. Nakia uses her diplomatic immunity to keep local authorities from taking in a Storm. She asks her what happened and what got into her. Storm explains what happened, but Nakia tells her it isn't an excuse to let her anger control her actions. Storm, scared, she flies off. In the forest, Storm cries and is met again by Farouk. He tells her that being led by anger is a key to survival, and that they should direct it towards Wakanda, people who ostracize them like those gang members, like her former bullies. Storm asks what he wants. He explains that he lives through people's subconsciousness. The only way he can become physical is through a great amount of emotion, and that Storm is the vessel that he needs. She tells him that she won't help. Farouk tests her. He tells her that all those years ago, he manipulated her into using those powers against her village. He even convinced her to run away. Heartbroken, Storm just summons a giant thunderbolt on him. Just like, screw this dude. But this doesn't do anything but benefit Farouk. He's actually brought to a physical plane of existence. This also sparks a fire that quickly spreads through the forest that they're staying in, her and Nakia. Storm is shell-shocked. She falls to her knees watching the disaster. Farouk tells her that he'll meet her in Wakanda so they can do the same thing to the capital city after he destroys their spirits. He's gone. Nakia finds Storm stuck on the ground, catatonic. Storm is asked how this happened, immediately telling Nakia about Farouk. Nakia puts this in the back of her mind, but focuses on convincing her that she has to use the power that she has to fix this, the fire. Against herself, Storm stands up and summons a great, storm, raining upon the fire, healing the forest. Later, Nakia tells Aurora that she's convinced that Farouk, quote-unquote, is an old Wakandan legend called the Shadow King. Before, he was a man of Wakanda, convincing people to do terrible things to each other, appearing as a friend but acting as an enemy. This stopped when the panther god Bast banished him to the Shadow Realm, but his spirit would linger in the dreams and souls of broken Wakandans. Storm and Nakia decide they have to stop him. They can't let him hold them back anymore. She asks if she's ready to go, and Storm says, "He isn't ready for me." Because I'm ready, bitch. Farouk floats in Wakanda above the main city, enjoying it as he casts a spell over the kingdom, making everyone see their greatest fears. People are attacking each other. Guards threaten civilians with their weapons. Wakandan airships shoot at each other. It's chaos over in this place. In the high tower, King T'Challa is surrounded by his personal guard, the Dora Milaje, but he's tormented by visions. He's crippled. He's not able to help in any way, as he usually would. Storm and Nakia arrive on the scene. Nakia on the ground helping people, and Storm confronting Farouk in the air. She gives him a chance to stop his attack, which makes him laugh. He's like, I'm not going to take you seriously. I still got my hold over you. The old friends engage each other, flying through the city, attacking each other. Storm saves people that Farouk uses as decoys. Storm captures the Shadow King in a wind tunnel, sucking the air out, suffocating him. She stops when he's completely weakened, immediately striking him with a thunderbolt. Farouk falls to the ground, but is caught by Storm. The two land on the ground. Farouk lays in Ororo's arms. I said it right. In his final moments, he uses his last breath to say that he's still proud of her and that he's scared of what's next. He disappears, being gone. Because now that he's finally a physical being, he can actually be hurt in physical means, So, for those who don't know. Farouk's death leads to the release of the Wakandans. Nakia enters the high tower, helping T'Challa up to his feet. The day is saved. A couple of days later, Storm returns to her old village. She reconnects with her family, the community, and buries Farouk's body in the near fields. She holds a small funeral. In attendance with her is Nakia, T'Challa, and Okoye, the head of the king's personal Dora Milaje. She says a few words about how you need friends like Farouk in your life, but not for the rest of your life. As the funeral ends, Nakia says goodbye to Storm. Her place is all places. She hugs T'Challa, reassuring him that this is the best course for her. She's gone. T'Challa offers Storm his help in starting her life over. She tells him that she also has to go, knowing that there are more mutants in the world like her that have had it worse. In a flirty way, she tells him that she'll visit every once in a while. T'Challa and Okoye leave. He's teased by her, saying, "You didn't freeze this time." The Storm of Africa sets her sights on the rest of the world, ready for what's next. Post-credit scene! Storm is traveling. She's looking for more mutants. She's in this airport, ready for another flight. And she's approached by a guard, this guard of the airport, saying, "You can't come with me. Or you have to come with me. You can't go on the plane. We know who you are." And she's brought into this interrogation room. And she says, "What's going on? What is this?" And then, the security cameras are off. And the guard transforms, revealing to be Mystique. She says, "I know who you are, and I know you want to help our people. So if you come with me, I'll introduce you to a man who wants to show you how to do it the right way." Dun dun dun! That's Storm right there, son. Are you ready for Storm?
Dude,
the Storm is coming. Sorry, go ahead.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
I loved it. I loved how you furthered the mythology of Black Panther while also introducing the X-Men at the same time with Storm. I thought that was really, really cool.
Thank you. I want to see those. I remember doing the fan cast video, and we were talking about, I said something about Storm is from Wakanda, and then a lot of comments were like, "She's from Harlem, goddammit." It's like, well, the MCU is probably going to go in a way where she's from Wakanda, just to connect things better. She has a connection to Black Panther in those books. They get married eventually.
It'd just be easier.
Yeah, it's what she's gonna be hooking up with Luke Cage or some shit? No.
And again, when it comes to adaptations, things are adapted and change. That's literally what it means. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same.
We gotta change it, son.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. One thing that I wanted cleared up was Farouk. You mentioned how he was a friend that some of us may need, but not always need.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
I think that a big part of living is, the main thing is experience. And, I've had friends like this character where they weren't the most positive figures, but I found myself needing them to know that thing exists.
Right. And also in a way, Farouk kind of led her to be, the hero that she was destined to be.
Yeah. I really want, those two to have a certain connection to make him more than just some, throwaway villain. Right. The fact that he's, when he reintroduces himself to her is like, "I'm really proud of what you've become." And when he dies, he's still proud. In a way, he was looking out for her the whole time. I think there's something interesting about that we haven't really seen in the MCU before.
Yeah, and because he was banished for doing something, for always being like somebody that just hurts the society.
Yeah.
In a way, he kind of redeemed his own self.
Yeah.
By actually creating Storm to be an ideal, Wakandan.
Yeah.
X-Men.
It could be an interesting look, because the idea of someone being called the Shadow King, right? That's pretty like, okay, he's going to be evil. But if, let's add some layers to it, especially if there's a relationship built into it, that'd be great. All right. So are you ready for this next one?
Yeah. Give it to me.
So I'll give it to you, motherfucker. So what's funny? One of the biggest inspirations for this was the idea of The Walking Dead for this one. This is about a character called Thunderbird and the Morlocks. Thunderbird is a Native American superhero, big older brother to a character called Warpath. He's introduced in giant-sized X-Men #1 with, the new team of people like Storm and Wolverine and all these people. He's very unknown, kind of forgotten X-Men, and if you're going to do something like the X-Men where there are so many different diverse characters, I feel like you should also do it with the characters who people don't know. That there's obviously a lot of history of profitability from obscure characters. Look at Deadpool. Like, that's probably the biggest example. Like, a lot of people did not know Deadpool until he was introduced in the right way.
Yeah, look at Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
I mean,
movie's still making money.
Yeah, the fact that it made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
They can use any character they want.
Let's do it. And Thunderbird, I hope we get that.
Yeah.
So Thunderbird and the Morlocks. Let me tell you about these guys. John Proudstar, who's Thunderbird, is a Native American man in his late 30s who takes care of his 13-year-old brother, James Proudstar. Their parents have been long dead, along with the rest of their kin. It's just them. The two move from town to town, not attached or slowed down. This is mainly due to the fact that they've been hunted by a religious group called the Church of Human Potential for the past 3 months. The brothers have been targeted because they are mutants with special abilities, looked at by the church as proof of a near rapture. John and James have been doing their best, living under the radar, but they've always been nearly caught. This time, John is convinced that they lost the cult. One night, they pull into a cheap motel in the middle of nowhere. Finally, they can enjoy a break from the pursuit until James walks around the hotel and sees armed soldiers of the church. They've been found. James sneaks back to him and his brother's room, telling him what he saw and that he wants to fight. Because James is a 13-year-old boy, which means he loves superheroes, the heroes that actually live in his world. People like the X-Men, Spider-Man, the Avengers. This is a kid who wants to be like that, John decides that they're leaving. They're not fighting. They're getting out of there. Though they try to be as discreet as possible, the mutants are found by the militia and are attacked with advanced weaponry produced by Essex Industrial. John protects his brother, shielding him with his highly impenetrable skin. He's got kind of this Luke Cage thing going on. John tells James to hide over at their car while he fights the group of soldiers. John is very proficient in hand-to-hand combat because he's had to learn how to protect his brother. So over the years, he's been, taking Wing Chun and all these different martial arts. Once he defeats the thugs, he goes to check on his brother. When he sees he's okay, the two notice a tracking device on their car. That's how they've been stalked. John takes it off, leaving it with the knocked out adversaries. They leave quickly. On the road, the brothers discuss where they're headed. John decides the one place they won't be found is an old Apache reservation their family was situated in for generations. The reservation is in New Mexico. James asks if they'll find any family there. John has no answer. Back at the hotel where the Essex or the church people are like beaten to shit, the leader of the church arrives at the spot where the mutants fled. Reverend William Stryker sees the left tracking device after reading an excerpt from the good book. Stryker orders his men to kill the soldiers beaten by John. He says this really messed up proverb, which is, when given a chance to have anything in the world, Solomon asked for wisdom, a discerning heart, in order to lead well and make right decisions. James 1:5. See, this dude's already nuts. He's quoting the Bible, doing that Joel Osteen shit. Stryker brings out a mutant called Feral, cat-like, clawed, and forces her, because he got her on a shock collar, to smell the tracking device. Feral uses her enhanced animalistic senses to find a trail for the Reverend. Using the trail, they're back to hunting John and James. During nightfall, the two runaway mutants locate the old reservation, but find it deserted and dilapidated. While exploring the ruins, they meet a young mutant, around James's age, named Leached. And he's like this, overt mutant. Like, he's green-skinned, he's got 3 fingers, he's like, he says things in a very blunt way, but also very funny. He's a little kid. Welcoming them, Leach takes the 2 strays deeper into the reservation to meet his family. The brothers are introduced to a hidden group of mutants that call themselves the Morlocks. Their leader introduces herself as Callisto. Callisto and the Morlocks have been on the run longer than John and James and have survived because of her leadership. Callisto offers John and his brother shelter and a place among them. Not trusting the group, he denies. James chimes in, saying that this is exactly what they need right now, a break with security. Hesitantly, John decides they'll stay for a bit. Later that night, John puts James to bed, telling them they're leaving first thing in the morning. James says there isn't any more family to find. He questions John's focus. What if the home they're trying to rebuild is with these other survivors? The day ends with John keeping watch over his sleeping brother, and it's like a sweet little scene. He puts a dream catcher over him, making sure that he's okay, he's protected. His main thing is protecting his brother. The next morning, John and James go out into the reservation center, seeing children running around playing with each other, larger mutants carrying construction equipment. Callisto comes up to both of them, asking to talk to John. He tells his younger brother to go play with the other kids, so he does. John and Callisto walk around the reservation. She asks what John's plan is. His plan is only to keep his brother safe. Hers is to do the same with her group. She wants them to stay with the Morlocks, believing in strength in numbers. They can rebuild the reservation the right way with John's help. He ponders her offer. In a broken down home, they see an old Apache uniform, a war uniform, lying in a pile of broken glass and rubble. Like, these reservations, if you look at them in real life, they're messed up. The Native American in America is like, I would say, the bottom of the totem pole. No pun intended, but that's a fact. That's a fact. I have Native American family. Do you? Do you know? Okay, well, it's hard for people to survive, man, and this movie will reflect that. Especially when it comes to the uniform. The uniform represents the legend Thunderbird, the avenging spirit. John says that it's places like this that make him so guarded. John and James's family were killed in front of them by these church people, by people of Stryker. Callisto tells John that she was pursued by the church as well. Her desperation and fear is what made her a great leader, and when she founded the Morlocks. John finally agrees to staying with the group. At dinner time, the group is huddled around a campfire, roasting their food. Leach comes up to John, bringing him an old flute he found while playing around. Being trained, he plays the flute, and he plays a song called Song of the Evening Star, which is an actual song, and it's incredible. I highly recommend it. The group listens to John play as they accept their new members. The next morning, John helps the other mutants with rebuilding, as James sits in a class with other children being taught the basics of hunting. Callisto gives different mutants different jobs to do. As the bigger mutants carry the heavy construction equipment, a small frag grenade lands next to them, exploding. A slew of soldiers charge into the reservation, shooting at the Morlocks. John grabs James and leads the other children to safety. Callisto is ordering Morlocks to do their defense positions, like huddle up, get spread out, do all these different things to protect your people. Stryker comes in, led by a collared feral. He gives a twisted sermon, calling the Morlocks proof of damnation. He gives them a choice: come quietly or die loudly. Callisto leads her people to fight, as does Stryker. He forces Feral to attack her own kind. This dude is messed up on so many levels. John tells James and the children to find a hiding spot as he joins the fight. He goes into battle, and he's doing all that cool Donnie Yen shit on these people. And, Donnie Yen / Luke Cage. Let's do it. The mutants and soldiers fight for better ground. It's neck and neck. John's help leans the fight in their favor. Stryker orders his men to target the children and abduct them. Callisto charges at the Reverend. After a quick bout, Stryker gets an opening and shoots the leader of the Morlocks in the gut. Her people see this, which gives the church the momentary edge. The soldiers grab as James and as many of the children as they can. They escape knowing that the rest of the mutants will come for them. John freaks out, trying to catch the truck but failing. He goes back to the reservation, comforting Callisto in her final moments. She tells him to take control while he still can. She dies. The group is broken. Families are torn apart. There's no hope until Leech comes out of hiding. He walks up to John, asking what the plan is. John says there is no plan, that he failed his one purpose in life. Leech tells him that there's hope, bringing out Farrell. John is guarded, but still listens to what she has to say. She says that in the heat of battle, while getting knocked down, her shock collar was broken. She wants to help and knows where the church is based. Farrell tells him that the church's headquarters is in East Arkansas. John takes up the role of leader, telling the Morlocks that they're going to get their family and end the church's wicked ways. The group gets ready, grabbing supplies and weaponry. John goes to the broken-down home, picking up the old war uniform. Leech is behind him, saying that James and the rest of the group needs a hero. John puts on the war garb and face paint. He is an avenging spirit at this point. He is the Thunderbird. The group buries Callisto and other fallen members of their kin and go off to Arkansas. At the church's base, the kidnapped children are guided to a rusted, unkept series of cages. They're all collared, powerless. James tries to fight back, but is put in his place instantly. He meets Stryker, who tells the boy that his suffering will soon be over. James replies, "So will yours. Because my brother's coming for me." The Reverend looks forward to meeting him. In nightfall, when Thunderbird and the Morlocks find the church's base, they scope the place from a distance. John organizes his people, breaking down their plan of attack. The heavy hitters will create a diversion by attacking the base from all sides, while Thunderbird and Farrell sneak in to find the kids. Leech will stay outside of the battle and help lead the rescued children when they come out. The attack begins. Everything goes to plan. When Thunderbird and Farrell find the kids, they fight off some soldiers and clear the way. Thunderbird tells Farrell to go with the kids while he goes off to find Stryker. James wants him to escape with them, but John goes along with his plan. The kids, they escape chaos instantly. John finds Stryker in a dilapidated chapel area of the base. He comes from a reverend's I'm terrible. I got the X gene in me right now. I'm Thunderbird. I'm in battle. He comes for the Reverend's blood, knowing that this ends with him. John sees something in his enemy's hand, a picture of a beautiful woman. Stryker is crying and laughing at the same time. He tells John that the picture is of his wife, long past. She was the love of his life and died while giving birth to their son, Jason. Their son was a mutant, or as Stryker thought, a demon. One night, during a drunken rage, he sacrificed his infant son over an abandoned bridge. That night, he decided that mutants were God's judgment, but he was humanity's true savior. One of the things about, a line that'll give you a hint as to William Stryker's mindset is, when my wife was pregnant, I believed in miracles, but when my son was born, I relied on damnation. Just shows you who this fool is. Damn. Stryker pulls out a machete, ready to go, calling John a savage, saying you're a savage because you're a mutant, and you're especially one because you're a Native American. He's a racist, obviously. Yeah. The Thunderbird pulls out his 2 daggers, ready to duel. In the chapel, they fight, but the duel is quickly won by John. He stabs Stryker in the gut, holding him close as he draws his last breath. Stryker says nothing. He just looks at his wife one last time, and he's gone. John lays the Reverend his body down on the altar and leaves. The chaos outside of the place ends with the Morlocks' victory. The soldiers are surrendered as their weapons are destroyed. John announces to the church that the Stryker is dead and their war is over, and that the best thing for both sides is to leave this battle here. He and the Morlocks get out of there. Days later, John, James, and the Morlocks are still moving, driving through deserts and highways. James asks his older brother what their next move is. John responds, same as it always was, surviving together. Post-credit scene, bitches! On the road, John drives, followed by the Morlocks in the cars behind. James and Leech are in the back seat watching videos on a phone. They tell John to check out this video. He pulls over and takes the phone, seeing an ad for Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, a safe place for mutants. Baby! That's Thunderbird and the Morlock.
Go get it, Thunderbird.
Let's do it.
I really liked how you incorporated Stryker in the story.
Yeah.
And emphasized how, the way he looks at religion kind of opposes the X-Men.
Yeah.
And I really love that line of how he looks at his son. Yeah. At first it was a miracle, but then I relied on damnation.
Yeah. That's
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Another way that I thought of it is the way he looks at an X. Yeah. It's not an X, it's a cross, right? Or just eradicating anything that he feels is sinful, and the X-Men are the embodiment of a sin.
Yeah.
So that's really compelling, and I think it's refreshing instead of just seeing Stryker versus Logan,
Wolverine.
And it's Stryker versus these people.
Yeah, it's funny
and
that
we'll really get that captured with this pitch.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think it's funny that like the idea of Stryker being a reverend is like weird because we're so used to him being like a soldier involved with Wolverine. But like in the comics, he's a reverend. He's in charge of the Church of Human Potential. It's interesting how they changed it up. You kind of get that similar dynamic that we've seen with Stryker and Wolverine, but now it's in a different context.
I think it's better with him as a reverend.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah, it makes it really like despicable.
Yeah,
turning something faith-based that a lot of people rely on for positivity in their lives, and he's perverting it into this crazy thing. It's I mean, that shit's happening. Look at what happened with that shooting at the synagogue. It was like last week, right?
Yeah.
It's scary times.
It is.
And we need stories to reflect these scary times.
Yeah. And Thunderbird
survive. I wanted to say another influence, obviously, Wind River. That movie's ridiculous.
Yeah, please. It should be like that. Please.
That's the tone we're going for here. All right, everybody. Now it's part 3. Colossus and Nightcrawler.
Hey, my boys.
The dynamic duo of mutant kind here. So we're gonna do this right now. I'm gonna say Peter instead of Piotr because that's pretty hard to say.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Say that 10 times.
Piotr.
Next time. Pointer. Penis Parker. All right. Peter Rasputin, a young man living in poverty-stricken Siberia with his mother and sister, has dreams of being a great painter. He's made beautiful pieces for his family, representing his true love for them. Unfortunately, when he's not using a brush, he uses his size and mutation of turning his skin into impenetrable steel for the Russian mob. His boss, Nicholas, doesn't know about Peter's family. During a gun deal selling to a shadow company called Essex, hint hint, Nicholas offers Peter to them for $5 billion US. Nicholas knows the organization has been collecting mutants. They agree to pay. Peter refuses right before his family is threatened by his boss. Nicholas whispers that he's had people watching the mutant since he started working for him. Before he started working for him, he knew about his family. Peter walks to the men of Essex slowly, damning all of them. He then turns on his power. Everyone shoots at him. Bullets bounce off his skin while Peter attacks the mobsters. He flips cars, knocks soldiers out. He throws them against each other. He's messing these people up. The fight ends with Rasputin as the last man standing. He destroys the sold guns, takes the money, and heads out. Before leaving, he sees Nicholas on the ground, bleeding out. Peter is told that everyone in Russia will come for him and his family. Nicholas dies. And Nicholas would be played by the mobster from John Wick. He got me with the fucking skin. Peter rushes home, telling his family that they have to leave. The mom and sister pack up clothes, food, and one of Peter's family paintings. Their little home is attacked by thugs. Peter tells them to go out the back while he deals with the attackers out front. After dealing with them, he meets his family at their old truck. They drive off after that. Peter drops his family off at a bus station, telling them to go far away. He gives them the money so they can disappear and stay safe. That's $5 billion right there, They want him to come with them, but he knows that these men are going to find him, so he can't endanger his family. They hug one last time, saying that he will find them one day. He leaves. Rasputin drives until the old truck breaks down. He walks through cities, states, countries for days until he ends up in Munich, Germany on a rainy midnight. Disoriented and weak, he falls before the steps of a chapel. The rain falls on his face as he slips in and out of consciousness. Before blacking out, he sees the church doors open and a hooded man approaches him. He falls asleep. The next morning, Peter wakes up in the church. He meets the pastor who saved him, Kurt Wagner, a mutant with blue skin and a tail and yellow eyes. Peter reveals his mutation while telling Wagner about what happened, and that he has to leave immediately or the town will be destroyed. Kurt convinces him that he's in no way ready to keep moving and that this is the safest place in Europe for people like him. Funny enough, like Germany is the safest place. This place in Germany is the safest place for different people. Peter is taken by Kurt through the town to see that there's no prejudice against mutants. Kurt is a respected member of his community, using his faith as a means to connect with others. Peter's in disbelief and still weak. He's sent to bed by Kurt. The next day, Peter offers his services to Kurt and the town. He wants to make up for all the mistakes he made at home with his family. He just asks for sanctuary for him and his family in return. Like later, once Peter is fine and healthy, they'll go find his family and bring him back. Kurt says that he and his people will organize this and find Peter's mother and sister. Wagner assumes Peter will help with manual labor when instead he had the idea of painting a new mural for their church. Kurt agrees. Peter works days and nights painting from the ceiling of his new home. His mural has a very stoic German qualities and a very heavy amount of color that would be seen in most Russian art. It's beautiful. The two mutants take this time to get to know each other better. In the town square, the mayor welcomes a new incoming mutant. The stranger is an older man, well-dressed, pale skin, red eyes, surrounded by bodyguards. The mutant introduces himself as Nathaniel Essex, handing a gun to the mayor, ordering him to kill himself. The mayor shoots himself in the head in front of his town. For those who don't know who Nathaniel Essex is, this is a character called Mr. Sinister. And playing Mr. Sinister here is none other than Bryan Cranston. Mr. White! Alright, so we got that out of the way.
Wow.
Essex yells, demanding that the mutant his people have been searching for come out. Kurt tells Peter to stay inside the church as he goes out. Outside, Kurt claims to be the one he's looking for. Essex denies him. He insults Kurt, calling him an abomination, and his people disgusting for housing mutants. This version of Mr. Sinister, the version of Mr. Sinister, is a self-hating mutant. He hates himself. He's a man of science who believes mutants are an abnormality that needs to be corrected before further causality. This kind of reflects what was brought up in Civil War. The Vision brought up the causality effect. He said, more of us are coming. That means there's going to be a lot more pain and suffering around the world. This kind of brings that. It's kind of the inverse of what the Vision is. Kurt reveals his power of teleportation as he uses it to take down Essex's, Mr. Sinister's bodyguards. Right before he lands a punch on Essex, he's told to stop by Essex, and does. Essex reveals his power of mind manipulation, and he tells the citizen of Munich that he'll return in 2 days for Peter. For both of them, really. If he doesn't get both mutants, the town will be destroyed. He won't take Kurt now because he's not ready. He wants his people to hand him over. Essex leaves. Later that night, Peter, Kurt, and the people of Munich debate their next step. Some people think they should hand the mutants over, while others think they should stand their ground. Kurt is quiet, in shock. He retreats to the church followed by Peter. Kurt thinks they should leave and never look back. Kurt thinks that they should run. Peter is shocked, asking why he won't stand up for himself. Kurt says that the last time he was controlled was when he was a freak for the show in a traveling circus. He was abused before he escaped and found Munich, before he found God. Peter tells him that running won't stop this. It will put the deaths of his people on them, which the Almighty wouldn't be that forgiving of. It takes time, but Kurt agrees. The two mutants go out to the town, still debating. They say that the people weren't strong because of mutants, but because they accepted them. They have to fight. Munich then stands as one. They start to strategize their plan, getting the older women and children to safety and the rest ready to fight. Kurt goes to his quarters, equipping himself with 2 old rapiers, which are swords, and his old circus costume, this beautiful red and black leotard. Little tail at the back. Peter asks if the suit came with a name. Kurt responds, Nightcrawler. There's 1 day left, and Kurt goes to find Essex at his camp to attempt a truce. The pastor tells him there's no need for further death. He can still be accepted by his people. Sinister tells Kurt about his past. He was once a normal chemist with a beautiful wife. He lived happy, safe, and orderly. When he found out he was a mutant, his life completely went out of control. Essex became filled with rage, seeing himself as an abnormality to life's equation. Essex, his wife, still loved and accepted him, but he wouldn't hear it. He, quote-unquote, accidentally used his power on her, telling her to, quote, drop dead. At that moment, he was convinced that a world filled with people like him would eventually destroy itself. He tells Kurt that he accepts what he is. Like Kurt, a monster. Essex allows Kurt to leave, understanding why he is who he is. Kurt is horrified and saddened by the upcoming battle. Their 2 days are up. It's the next day, the day of battle. Peter and Kurt stand on the steps of the church with their people. The people are spread out. Essex and his army of soldiers approach. The people of Munich boo, calling him unheimlich. In German, that's sinister. The 2 mutants approach the army. Munich cheers for them, yelling, Colossus! Or Koloss in Russian or German, you know.
Koloss.
Get out there! The mutants tell the army it's their last chance to leave peacefully. Essex laughs right in their faces, saying it'll be more than a pleasure for him to bring their home down to pieces. Suddenly, Essex's army is surrounded by more townspeople, more like authority people, following Colossus and Nightcrawler. They're trapped. They're bottled. Colossus quickly uppercuts Essex, bitch, sending him flying. He does this so he can break his jaw, so he won't be able to use his power, telling people what to do. He lands in the middle of the army. The battle starts. The people fight the army. Colossus and Nightcrawler work together. They start to win. Nightcrawler teleports him and Colossus high in the air, dropping Peter, who punches the ground, sending a shockwave, ending the battle, the main battle. Essex gets back up, putting his jaw back in place, which is nasty. He's just like, I'm ready. He tells Colossus to kill Nightcrawler. He goes after him, throwing punches, cars, doors. They end up in the church, which Colossus ends up bringing down while trying to kill his friend. Seeing the rubble is enough to snap Peter back to the reality where he, of being a good person. Yeah. Peter begs Kurt for forgiveness, which Kurt quickly accepts, knowing it wasn't him. It comes down to Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Sinister. Kurt walks up to Essex, offering his hand and a chance to make things better one last time. Knowing he's outnumbered and unequipped to take the 2, Essex responds, I now see that it isn't our time. We'll all go out together. That will be our legacy. Sinister leaves, defeated, for now. Instead of chasing him, Peter and Kurt focus on helping their people. And for that line of dialogue, just pretend it was Bryan Cranston saying it. Days later, at the church's remains, a ceremony for the town is held. Kurt speaks the rosary, honoring those fallen. Peter and Kurt talk about their next step. They know that Sinister will be back for them, so they should decide where that will be. Away from Munich, Kurt is reluctant to leave, but is reminded by Peter that Munich is stronger than both of them combined. Before leaving, the duo have one last thing to do. They end up finding Peter's family living in southern Russia. They bring them back to Munich and use the $5 billion to rebuild the town and make sure it's safer for anyone seeking sanctuary. The church is back up with a new mural. Everyone is safe. Nightcrawler asks Colossus where they're headed. He responds that he's heard about a school in America that excited him. There it is. No post-credit scene. That's basically it.
No post-credit scene?
Well, I mean,
one.
Well, that you got a whole movie right now, all right? Jesus.
The Baba Yaga.
The Baba Yaga. That's right. So that's Colossus and Nightcrawler.
That was tight. I usually don't see them like paired up, and it just makes sense pairing them up that way based off their backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think because of where they come from, it makes their relationship a lot stronger.
The continent.
And throwing Mr. Sinister in there is really sick. Mm-hmm. I've never imagined a fight between Colossus, Nightcrawler versus Sinister.
Yeah.
That's really cool to me.
That'd be crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
I think there were stories of him like specifically saying, I want to play Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
I think it was because of it's an interesting layered character, Mr. Sinister, and if he was in this movie, and if he had a future in these Marvel movies,
yeah,
that'd be tight.
Please,
tight, AF.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready for this next one?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, but you're gonna lose your mind about this because we're finally bringing in your boy,
my boy,
Wolverine.
Logan, come on, bub.
Now, can I just say right now? I'm going to tell you the title right now.
Okay. Tell me the title.
Wolverine versus Hulk.
No freaking way.
Yeah. See, I was really inspired while we were doing those Marvel movie marathons.
Yeah.
And we were watching Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton.
Yeah.
And y'all were talking mad shit about Mark Ruffalo. You and Robert were like, where's this fool? When it came to the Hulk. So this movie... takes place in between the Avengers and the Incredible Hulk.
Okay.
It is set in 2009, and this is basically a movie that kind of answers a lot of different questions. It shows why the Bruce Banner we have is so different than the one that was introduced in the Incredible Hulk. At the end of the Incredible Hulk, Bruce is very confident in himself. He gets control of the Hulk.
Yeah.
When we see him in the Avengers, he's the opposite of that. This movie answers why he became so different.
He's the opposite of that? What do you mean?
Well, he's scared,
in terms of, yeah.
Yeah, like he can't control it. He's basically like, oh, I'm twizzling my hands when he meet. Like, I mean, look at that scene when he meets up with Black Widow. He's like unstable. This is the movie that answers why that is the case. So, and also, Wolverine's first appearance in a comic was fighting the Hulk. So, I mean, you got to do it. You got to do it, son.
They're gonna do it.
They have to do it. Okay. Yeah. In Manitoba, Canada, there's a bounty hunter, a short mutant who goes by one name, Logan. He rides a bike. He smokes cigars. He hangs out at bars, and it always catches his man. He's the best there is at what he does, but what he does best isn't very nice. And can I just say this Wolverine, this is... I love Hugh Jackman. I wouldn't try to touch that.
Yeah.
So this is more based on the kind of Wolverine we get from the voice actor Stephen Blum, who voice acts him in the Ultimate Marvel Alliance games. Yeah. He did the Hulk versus Wolverine film. Like, he's a very animalistic version of the character. He's like, like all that. Like, this is who we're talking about right now. Yeah. And that's my favorite Wolverine, by the way. So...
And those animated movies are sick.
They're tight. Yeah. So Marvel doesn't do animation well. Fuck out of here. Logan is locally known in Manitoba as the man you call when justice fails you. He does this because he doesn't know much about his past, victim of severe amnesia. All he knows is his innate talent for violence. He's hired by the community to track down and bring in a monster that's been abducting locals. This creature has been referred to as the Wendigo. The Wendigo is like a Sasquatch, giant white beast and all that good shit.
Yeah.
He finds the monster deep in the woods, feasting on an unfortunate bear. Logan unsheaths his adamantium claws from his hands, roaring at the beast, ready to go. He's like, let's do this, bub. Let's go. The two fight briefly. Logan wounds the animal, I don't know what I'm writing, but is immediately pinned down. Before the Wendigo strikes, he's taken down from an aerial sniper. Logan picks himself up, seeing an armed military chopper land near him and the dead monster. A commanding officer by the name of General Thaddeus Ross, General Lightning Bolt Ross, steps out of the copter, approaching the mutant. Ross tells him the army will reimburse him for his bounty and that they have a job for him. If Logan accepts, they will give him information on his past, who he is. The military has this information as far as Logan knows. Logan is handed a newspaper labeled Harlem Terror. The picture is that of a giant green behemoth destroying a street in Harlem, New York. Ross explains that 9 months ago, they lost a fugitive by the name of Dr. Bruce Banner in New York. They had no luck in tracking him and were referred to Logan for help. Logan asks what Banner has to do with the green monster. Ross replies, telling him Banner knows where the monster is. The mission is to find Banner, knock him out quickly, and bring him to a rendezvous point in Alberta, Canada. Logan just replies, sounds fun. Ross gives the mutant the location where Banner was last seen, a cabin in Bella Coola, British Columbia. Logan arrives at the cabin, finding it completely abandoned and torn apart. He notices an envelope addressed to a Betty Ross. Opening it, he pulls out a heart-shaped pendant. Logan smells it, picking up a trail. The scent is headed north. Therefore, so is the bounty hunter. He ends up in a northern motel. The trail ends at room 17. Logan busts down the door, finding a bearded Bruce Banner, full-on caveman-looking Banner. He interrogates the doctor, demanding to know where the monster is. Banner asks if he's with the others. Logan, not knowing what he's talking about, tells him to take him to the monster before he makes him. Bruce tells him that it wouldn't be a good idea to make him angry. But before he can finish his sentence, he's knocked out by the mutant. You wouldn't like me, eh? That's it. Logan throws the cuffed, unconscious scientist over the back of his Harley, and they drive off. On the road, Logan calls Ross, telling him he's got Banner, and they're on their way to Alberta. He brings up that Banner mentioned others. Ross denies any knowledge of any other interested parties. He hangs up, and the two ride through the night. At dawn, Logan and Banner ride into Alberta, but are nearly out of gas. They pull over at a station in the middle of the highway, surrounded by wilderness. Logan buys some good cigars while the bike loads up. Meanwhile, Bruce slowly gains consciousness, noticing himself handcuffed, but an opportunity to escape. When Logan comes back with his smokes, he sees the bike alone. He picks up Banner's trail, which goes deep into the Alberta forest. Banner runs as fast as he can, stopping when he finds a place to hide. He tries terribly to control his breathing, but is interrupted by Logan. Banner warns the hunter to save himself by getting as far as possible. Not listening, Logan asks what Bruce meant by others. Who else is coming for him? Bruce doesn't know who they were, but they couldn't stop him at the cabin. Logan chuckles, not taking it seriously that Banner is the one who destroyed the home in Bella Coola. He pulls out the pendant, asking who Betty Ross is. This irritates Banner even more. The mutant unsheaths his claws, telling Bruce once and for all to go back to the bike. The threat overwhelms Banner. He's stressing out. He can't control himself. He starts to ramble, mentioning that it's almost been a year since he's had an accident. The scientist's groaning turns into a powerful roar. His arms enlarge, breaking off the cuffs, tearing his clothes. His skin alters green. He grows over 7 feet. Bruce Banner turns into something else. Something incredible. The giant Hulk's first word, Hulk smash, little man! Logan realizes the truth. Banner and the Hulk are one and the same. This doesn't scare him. He snarls at the monster, ready to fight. The clawed fighter lashes at him, but is immediately met with the Hulk's brute force. Logan is knocked over 20 feet away. He gets right back up, grinning at the challenge. He's like, all right, bub, let's do this! The fight all over the forest. It takes place. Logan slashes. Hulk smashes. Logan uses his speed to maneuver his way closer in, cutting up the beast. The Hulk grabs him by the leg, flinging him on the ground against rocks, but Logan, his healing factor takes flight, and he keeps him in the fight. The two end up at the edge of a large lake. They stand off against each other, ready to deliver the final blows. The two charge, but are interrupted by tranquilizers hitting them from the side. Hulk is hit with enough, knocking him out. Logan fights back due to his rapid healing, but is hit with more. He looks at the shooter and sees a team of mutant special forces. We got people like Lady Deathstrike, Sabretooth, Omega Red, and Deadpool.
No friggin' way.
Deadpool looks at Logan and says, "Hey, Logan! We finally got you back! Is it me or are you shorter? And much less handsome than last time we saw you."
Chimichanga time!
Logan knocks out. And it's Ryan Reynolds, everybody. Later that day, Ross and his military arrive at the gas station, now surrounded by local police and news vans. They see Logan's bike abandoned. The gas clerk tells him that the authorities that he heard violent noises coming from the woods after the short guy and grizzly man left the bike. Ross and the other authorities go to the site, seeing the destruction left by Logan and the Hulk. He finds a tranquilizer labeled 181. Ross recognizes it, telling his people to move out. Hours later, Logan wakes up in a cellar. He's strapped to a wall, unable to move or use his claws to break out. He's surrounded by the mutant task force from earlier. Deadpool stands near him, taunting. Sabretooth is on edge, wanting to torture Logan. Deathstrike agrees, as does Omega Red. Deadpool is like, hey, this is a dream come true for me, alright? Don't ruin it! Before the team can tear itself apart, their leader, Dr. Cornelius, who is played by John Lithgow, he enters the room. He greets Logan, claiming to know him very well. The chained-up mutant doesn't remember any of them. The doctor tells Logan that he looks forward to continuing their work, weaponizing mutation and selling it to the government, military to be exact. But now, they not only have him, they got the Hulk. John Lithgow says, "Welcome home, Logan." Cornelius reprogrammed the mutant task force, making them dependent on him, his slaves, basically. The reason, Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike and even Deadpool are there are because Cornelius got his hands on them and reprogrammed their minds. Cornelius gets a call from General Ross. The doctor shows this to Logan, revealing their allegiance. Ross gives Cornelius 12 hours to bring the Hulk and Logan to the military. Cornelius agrees to the terms, quote-unquote. After the call ends, he tells Logan that they're the ones who referred Ross to him. And once they're done reprogramming him and the Hulk, they'll own war profiteering in North America. Deadpool's just like, he's talking a lot of shit. Can I be honest with you? I had a great time writing dialogue for this dude. Do you have any idea how many contracts we had to sign to get this job, Logan? Me, Bob, Kevin, Alan, and Tom ran out of ink by the end of it. Cornelius leaves to get his lab ready, escorted by Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike. Deadpool and Omega Red are left to guard Logan. The prisoner is teased by Deadpool for being captured. He figures that the two of them have fought before. He's like, so this isn't the first time I've had to kick your ass, huh, Red? And Deadpool says, "Oh, Logan, our first time. I was speechless. No one has ever come close to you. No one except for Russian Doll over here." Omega Red is like done. He tells Deadpool to shut up, which makes him jab more. Distracted, the two start to fight. Meanwhile, Logan works his way out of his bonds by pulling his hand through the strap. Once his hand is freed and healed, he claws his way out of escape. He fights off Deadpool and Omega Red, finding a way to get out of there. Logan sneaks through corridors, tinted hallways. While finding an escape, he sees soldiers escorting Bruce's unconscious body to a lab. He leaves, guessing that the Hulk is going to kill them all anyway, once they started testing. He leaves the faculty to this place that's snow-infested. He's in the middle of nowhere. Logan travels for hours, eventually finding a bar near a highway. He enters the bar, ordering a drink and a cheap cigar. He sits, trying to compose himself. While taking a hit off his drink, a voice is heard calling him. A silhouetted man approaches Logan, telling him that he has a job for him. The mutant looks up from his drink to see a tall man with an eye patch, introducing himself as Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, crap.
Fury tells the mutant that they've been keeping an eye on him and Banner, and that Ross never had information on Logan's past. He wants Logan to go back to Facility 181 and save Banner. Logan declines, saying there's no point. Fury tells him that in the hands of Cornelius, the Hulk will wreak more havoc than he has ever before. He also, as incentive, offers Logan information on his past as payment. He actually shows him a physical file, like he actually has it, proving that he can deliver. Logan begrudgingly takes the job. Fury gives Logan a map of the facility. He's sending the mutant in alone, knowing about his healing factor and not wanting to spare any of his S.H.I.E.L.D. men. While Logan's frees Banner, he's to use a S.H.I.E.L.D. explosive to destroy the facility and anyone in there. It's like a Black Ops mission. Logan's clothes are nearly completely shredded. Fury gives him a suitcase, saying it was a part of his file. The case is labeled Wolverine. He opens it up and sees what's in there. Logan says, "Only an idiot would wear something like this." Nick Fury says, "Good thing I hire idiots." Logan grins. Back in the labs of 181, Banner is escorted by Cornelius and his soldiers. He's under an intense amount of sedatives, barely unable to move. Cornelius offers Banner a position in his lab. Banner refuses. Cornelius tells him that they're on the same side, against Ross. The madman explains that after they reprogram his brain, they'll take Banner to the military's rendezvous point and use the Hulk to destroy their faction. With Ross dead, Cornelius will be able to take the lead in military contracts, and he'll allow Bruce to be with Ross's daughter, Betty. Bruce still refuses, saying he'll die before he helps any of them. Cornelius responds that he won't, but Betty will. Deadpool says, "We're gonna go American History X on her ass!" Bruce is knocked out and transferred into a tank of cooling liquid for surgery. It's, when you see about Wolverine's backstory, he's in a big tank of liquid. It's basically that. Before the process starts, an alarm is raised. An intruder is alert. Cornelius knows it's Wolverine coming back. Sabretooth and Omega Red take Cornelius to his office for security until Logan's dealt with. Deadpool and Lady Deathstrike are left outside guarding the lab with Banner. Inside the lab are 20 armed guards guarding the tank. Cornelius and his two minions reach his office, locking themselves in, turning off the lights. They're met with cigar smoke and a short man sitting in Cornelius' chair. The man gets up, stepping into the light from the window above, revealing a yellow and brown combat suit with a pointed cowl. He's in the suit, basically. Logan says, "I'm here, bub. Wolverine's back."
This is gonna be fun.
You little bitch. Sabretooth and Omega Red protect the Doctor, ready to fight.
Wow.
Wolverine shows his claws and charges the two. He takes out Omega Red pretty quickly and then charges Sabretooth. They brawl heavily in the destroyed small office. Sabretooth grins when Logan starts to win, saying that he can't kill him because he also has a healing factor. Wolverine tells him he'll see him next time. He knocks out the goon. Logan slowly approaches Cornelius. Desperate, the Doctor pleads to Logan for his life. He mentions that the reason his mutants are so loyal is because he loved them, because they were family. Cornelius says he'll tell Logan everything he wants to know about his past, offering him a place amongst them once again, physically reaching out to him. Wolverine quickly lashes at him, amputating his arm, cutting his arm off. Howling in pain, Cornelius tries to escape but fails. Wolverine gets closer to him. Cornelius is like, "Who the hell do you think you are?" And Wolverine just says, "I'm the best there is at what I do." Wolverine guts his former master, killing him. Logan picks out of his pocket a mini panic button remote, pressing it. Back over where Deadpool and Lady Strike are, a group of soldiers rush, reaching the office to find Cornelius and Omega Red's dead bodies. Sabretooth is gone. They look around the office, but Logan is missing. An air vent is left open. And Deadpool says, "And playing the role of Wolverine, Bruce Willis." In the lab where Banner is held, Wolverine jumps out of the air duct, attacking the soldiers left at guard. They shoot at him, but he comes out victorious. He lashes the cooling tank Banner is trapped in, freeing him. Banner is disoriented, still drugged. He stumbles around the lab looking for a shot of adrenaline or stimulant to keep him on his feet. Impatient, Wolverine just stabs him, waiting for the green monster to come out. Outside of the lab, Deadpool, Deathstrike, and the squad of soldiers approach. The doors bust open. Coming out are Wolverine and the Hulk, side by side. They charge the military troop. Deathstrike pounces the Hulk, clawing at him, while the soldiers try shooting him down. Wolverine and Deadpool fight each other. After a bout, the two trade enemies, Hulk versus Deadpool, Wolverine versus Deathstrike. They work together to win the fight, but more soldiers close in on them. Enraged, the Hulk runs right at them. Logan heads for the center of the facility. Getting there, Wolverine plants the bomb, setting the timer for 5 minutes. While escaping, he notices a side lab with an operating table. The area is stained with blood and claw marks. Logan recognizes the setting vaguely, but leaves anyway, knowing that time has passed. Almost out, Logan hears big thunderous sounds following a loud roar. He sees the Hulk smashing up the place with soldiers' bodies. He tells him that they're almost out of time and they need to leave now. The Hulk quickly grabs Logan, chucking him so fast and strong that he flies out of the facility. Logan lands in nearby woods. Still in the facility, the Hulk smashes but is shot out by the explosion that destroys the fortress. The monster lands near where Logan did. From a distance, Logan sees the facility destroyed. His past sinks down in an ocean of fire. Nearby, the Hulk transforms back to Banner. Wolverine approaches him, but Banner is terrified of the mutant. Logan tells him to stay scared and not turn into the Hulk, or maybe they'll run into each other again. At the last minute, Logan throws the Lonely Man the heart-shaped pendant from Benny. Bruce Banner runs off, disappearing once again. Near nightfall, S.H.I.E.L.D. helicopters surround what used to be Facility 181. Nick Fury and Wolverine meet. Nick says that they're still keeping a distant eye on Banner, but if something like this happens again, they know just who to call. And Wolverine says, someone else. The job is done. Nick hands Logan a cigar and lights it for him. He pulls out a file labeled Weapon X. In the file is all 181 and S.H.I.E.L.D. had about his past. Logan uses his cigar to burn the file to dust. It doesn't matter to him anymore. All that matters now is making Ross pay for setting him up. Fury tells him that S.H.I.E.L.D. has that covered. Logan, right before leaving and taking a S.H.I.E.L.D. car, Nick Fury says, hey, I think I might have another job for you. I'd like to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. Logan tells him, f*** off. He leaves. He takes a S.H.I.E.L.D. car into the night, back on the highway. Bruce is hitchhiking on the side of a road, waiting for someone to pick him up. General Ross is in his office, doing paperwork when he's given an official S.H.I.E.L.D. form, notifying him of his termination. Away in New York, Betty Ross receives a letter from Dee Banner. She opens it, finding a heart-shaped necklace. Logan sits at a bar in his yellow suit, having a drink and smoking a cigar. All right, Angel, I got you a post-credit scene now.
Give it to me.
As a matter of fact, I got 2 for you.
2? All right. In
present day, Logan drives up to a big property. After he parks, he walks up the steps to a big mansion titled Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. An older man in a wheelchair approaches him. He introduces himself as Professor Charles Xavier and thanks Logan for accepting his invitation. Xavier is accompanied by a man with a visor on his face who goes by Cyclops. He and Logan size each other up. Xavier tells Logan that he would like to hire him for a job. Logan grins, responding, "It's nice to meet you too, Chuck." That's 1.
Wow.
Number 2. Back in 2009, amongst the rubble of Facility 181 emerges Deadpool. He dusts himself off, walking away from the crime scene, just all casual like. He addresses the audience finally. Like, up to this point, he didn't address anyone. He is kind of playing it cool. Now he's actually talking to us. Well, it finally happened. Wolverine versus Deadpool. Maybe not exactly how I pictured it. I thought we were filming in Australia this time. I didn't find true love in this one. And I would have liked a scene with that hitman I bodyguarded once. But who am I to complain? I'm finally home. MCU, when I'm done with this place, you'll be calling it the DPFU. Don't worry. You'll see me soon. Next vacation spot? I was thinking of visiting Holland. Deadpool will return.
Oh, let's go! Deadpool's Spidey, baby.
There's okay. I'm happy someone got that reference. Like, knew what I was talking about. Holland? What? That's Wolverine versus the Hulk.
Wow. Yeah, that's my favorite one. That was mind blowing.
Thank you.
I really hope it happens like that.
Here, speaking the mic.
I really hope Kevin Feige does that.
Let's do it.
I'm serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be perfect getting Ross to set him up and hunting down the Hulk. We've all wanted to see that. It would be a perfect way to introduce Wolverine, without like shoehorning him in the X-Men and prioritizing him as a leader. Yeah.
You reference that whole Avengers thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like the idea of him being part of that is like he wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
He's like,
F that. And then eventually he'll be open-minded with it when he joins the X-Men and stuff. So
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that I just want a proper. I was really happy that when I was writing this, we came across to the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
When we were watching the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
That was a really good frame of reference. Even when we got to the first Avengers.
Yeah.
There are a lot of little things left open. Little moments that are mentioned in those movies that led to the story. So I was happy that I could grab those and be like, okay, let's fill this missing area. We know the Hulk can work as the the other character.
Yeah.
We've seen that in Thor.
Sidekick. But I mean, think about the ending of The Incredible Hulk. The location. I mean,
Bella Coola.
It'd be perfect.
It's right there.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's towns and cities there. And, you know, Logan, he'd be familiar with that kind of territory in the woods and stuff. They could even keep him as a lumberjack as well still. Lumberjacking,
Bub.
Bounty hunting. Bub, yeah. Exactly. It'd be perfect.
Yeah. I really just want to see Mark Ruffalo do something like this. I think this would be the most Hulk movie he would be in, you know, because we know where the Hulk is now, especially after Endgame. We know where he ends up. But this answers the question, why was he so afraid of the Hulk, you know, in the first Avengers? It's because he met Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be awesome, I think.
That would be awesome.
All right. This is the last one. This is the X-Men film, everybody.
Let's do it.
Let's do this. Ending phase 2. X-Men Legacy. Are you ready, Angel?
Yeah, love that title.
Are you ready for these notes? Doom, 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 doom. All right, let's do this. In the industrial region of Detroit, Essex Industries owns recently abandoned buildings for arms manufacturing and cybernetic enhancement testing. A small mutant in a yellow suit named Wolverine sneaks into this factory. He sees mutant-enhanced weapons and soldiers given cybernetic applications, you know, repulsors, arms, headgear. He's psychically linked to Professor Charles Xavier, who's in Westchester, New York, telling him that he's found the Sentinel program.
And to get him a pizza.
So the reason these are Sentinels, these are a mix between the Sentinels and the Reavers.
Right.
In the Ultimate Marvel Comics, the Sentinels, there are those big giant robots, but there are also a small faction of like soldiers, militia people who took it upon themselves to get that equipment and hunt down mutants. So that's basically what the Sentinels are in the MCU. Xavier tells him that months of hunting down leads have finally led them to Mr. Sinister himself, Nathaniel Essex. He's unsure as to why he couldn't use Cerebro on him. Wolverine keeps a lookout for Sinister, but is spotted by one of the soldiers. The platoon fires at him with the special weapons, which are like lasers, fireballs, quakes. Wolverine fights back, cutting through as many as he can, but is overwhelmed. The soldiers are ordered to stop by their leader, Mr. Sinister, wearing Magneto's helmet. So, one thing I forgot to mention in the pitch last time, the first part, when, you know, Magneto fights the X-Men at the White House, he leaves the helmet behind. So it was in government property. That's how Essex got it. He got it from a government connection. And this is why Xavier can't find him. You know, it's because of the helmet. Wolverine lashes at Sinister, but misses. Sinister toys with the mutant, then finally lands a hard blow. He uses his power of mind manipulation to stop Logan, ordering him still. He speaks to Xavier directly through Logan, saying that he'll see him and their people soon. He orders Logan to block all psychic communication with Xavier and go into a shipping container, not to come out until it's open. Logan does so. Essex sends the container off and orders his men to get the equipment out. One of the soldiers with red hair gets clear from the rest, picking up their walkie-talkie. The soldier with red hair speaks to an unknown party on the other end of the talkie, giving them a heads up on the container and that they should pick it up for them. The container is driven to the docks, far away, and put on a cargo ship headed to Korea. Wolverine is gone, and Xavier has no idea where he's headed. The Marvel Studios intro. Dun 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 dun. Okay. At Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters in Westchester, Xavier is consulting privately with Cyclops, Scott Summers, and Beast, Hank McCoy, about the situation with Wolverine and Sinister. Beast brings up that he's estimated an attack at the school from an outside threat, whether that be human, Magneto, Essex. He's a genius, so he's said there are too many of us coming to the school that there has to be an attack. It's just math right now, especially with the number of mutants, you know, that have come out, which are in the hundreds. They all decide it's time to move their people somewhere isolated and secure. So it's basically X-Men moving day. Xavier brings up
that they need to be battle ready in case an attack happens before they've left. Scott is quiet, so the professor speaks to him alone. The two walk around the school, seeing the amount of new students and refugees staying on their property. Like, camps are set up on the lawns, kids are playing, there are a bunch of new mutants and everything. They pass classes being taught by the X-Men. Angel and Iceman teach PE, Beast teaches chemistry, they're doing their thing. Xavier tells Scott that he's worn and wants to step down, passing the role of headmaster to him. He's used his powers to keep tabs on potential threats for the past 2 years. He feels Scott is better suited to protect their people than him because he's getting older, he's getting more weary, he's not as powerful as he used to be.
Yeah.
Scott responds that he doesn't know if he's ready or even wants that. Right now, he just wants to focus on Jean Grey and starting a family before he gets killed protecting his people. The two stop at Jean's class, Mutant Modern History. This is basically a cool area. Xavier tells Scott to consider it and make a decision soon. The professor leaves to go meet the two new mutants applying for teaching positions. Scott stays to hear Jean's lecture. She tells her students about their history, how they became known to the world, the incident in Washington, D.C. with the White House and everything. Her student, James Proudstar, asks her what it's like to be an X-Man. She just says, "It's awesome." One student asks if it's true that the government kidnaps and tortures mutants with chemical weapons. Jean responds saying those are just conspiracies, but to still look out for each other. The class ends. Outside of the class, waiting with Scott, is John Proudstar. Thunderbird, my boy Thunderbird is there. He tells Scott that he's his little brother's hero. Scott is James' hero, thanking them for their home. Scott knows about John and the rest of the Morlocks' story, telling him that they're glad to have them. It's more than a privilege to have them. Scott asks John how they've survived in a world run by humans. Proudstar tells him that he's focused on his brother, and it was simple. James comes to his brother and meets Cyclops. The boy tells him that his older brother should be an X-Man. They laugh and the two brothers head to their home, which is basically like the Morlocks camp on the lawns of Xavier's. Cyclops is approached by Jean, embracing each other. The two talk about their future and what they want. Jean tells Scott that her future is with him, but also with their people. Scott asks for how long they have to play these assigned roles of theirs. Scott is to be the leader, Jean is to be the power. Jean responds saying that she's on her path because she chose it, just like he did. She thinks they can be together without having to retire on their people. Scott tells her that Xavier wants him to take his place and that he's been silently looking for more mutants candidates for the X-Men. Scott says to Jean that he doesn't know if he is the right guy to lead the team. Jean tells him that she is behind him 100%, 1,000%, 3,000%. In the head office, Xavier meets with two new mutants looking to teach. They go by Peter Rasputin and Kurt Wagner. Colossus and Nightcrawler there. Colossus wants to teach art. He wants to teach art classes, while Kurt would handle religious studies. The professor asks why they want to help with education. The two mutants have been looking for a new home, but also want to earn their keep. Xavier mentions that the jobs might come with an opportunity in security. Mutant security. The two look at each other and tell him that they have experience in hero work. They're hired. Peter and Kurt unpack in their quarters. Peter is more enthusiastic than Kurt, who feels homeless in a way. Peter tells him that their family is safe in Munich and that teaching at the school is a chance for them to start over. Kurt feels a little better, but the depression still gnaws at him. Colossus tells him it's already starting to feel like home. It's 1 a.m. on the ship headed to Korea. Logan is still stuck in the shipping container. There are 20 Sentinel guards posted on the ship, guarding the cargo. Wolverine listens to the outside, trying to move. Unable to move, he hears shouting and gunfire from the outside. The noise of soldiers dwindles down quickly. The sound of metal moving is large. The whole ship rocks back and forth, pushing cargo all over. Logan knocks back and forth, eventually hitting his head over a steel crate. He falls unconscious. Later, Logan wakes up in the crate. He can feel it moving along with the rest of the ship. The boat is dropped on a hard surface. Logan gets up slowly, noticing that he's able to move now. He hears the doors of the shipping container open slowly. He gets ready to fight, unsheathing those magnanimous claws of his. The door rips open, letting in blinding light. Logan sees an older man with a beard and a ripped cloak. He introduces himself as Eric Lencher, Magneto, and welcomes him to Genosha. Wolverine recognizes Eric as that prick who attacked the White House. He comes out cautiously, telling Eric that he's ready to kill him. Magneto responds, telling him that he has no interest in fighting mutants anymore. Logan sees the boat laying on the shore of a long beach. In the distance are other ships laying, abandoned. Magneto tells him that Genosha is an abandoned island near Madagascar. He's not entirely alone. A jet lands near the two mutants. Out comes an African mutant named Ororo Monroe, having trouble again, who is also known as Storm. She brings supplies, meets Logan, and asks where Raven is. At an Essex air hangar in Detroit, Sinister is escorted by his jet by a platoon of soldiers, while his weaponry and men are shipped out. He sends his escort away, except for one soldier with red hair, the same soldier. He toys with the soldier, telling him that him and his soldiers are on a righteous mission. Most of the men enlisted as sentinels are everyday people, protecting, quote-unquote, their world before the monsters destroy it. The soldier with red hair plays along. Sinister pulls out a tablet with footage on it. He shows the soldier videos of weapon experiments. In the clip are mutants from Magneto and Mystique's Brotherhood from the first X-Men film being tortured and killed by Essex Industries. Some are drained of their powers until their death. Others are thrown into gas chambers. The soldier holds back his shock. The soldier with red hair. Sinister reveals that he knows the soldier is a mutant, addressing him as Raven, otherwise known as Mystique. Immediately, more than 20 Sentinel soldiers surround them. She acts quickly, throwing a gas pellet to the ground. The soldiers scatter as the smoke clears. Everyone looks for the shapeshifter, but can't find her. Mystique manages to escape in Sinister's jet. He just jacked his fucking plane. Sinister watches and laughs. While flying, Mystique uses her walkie-talkie to radio Magneto. She's coming home. At the mansion in Westchester, Xavier uses Cerebro to scan the world looking for Wolverine or Sinister, but can't find either. He leaves the machine, even more worn out than before, seeing Scott wait for him outside. He tells his protege that there's no sign of either mutant. While talking to him, Xavier falls unconscious and sees Kurt and Peter nearby and asks for their help. Scott looks for them. Kurt teleports Xavier to his room, laying him on his bed. Later that day, Scott, Jean, Beast, Iceman, and Angel stand over their professor, trying to decide what's next for their people, for the school. Beast takes his vitals, telling the others that he'll be okay, he just needs a lot of rest. Their biggest defense has just gone under, and it's too big a coincidence with the Sinister stuff to not react quickly. Beast mentions that he's found an island off the coast of San Francisco that could house mutants, the amount of mutants they have. So that's the plan. All 5 agree to it. Everyone is given a job. Scott and Jean go to NYC, New York City, to pick up supplies for Xavier's recovery and moving their students. Beast will acquire the island, buy it, since they're rich over there. They got a whole school and everything, and work on their transport vehicles so they can move the amount of mutants they need to. Iceman and Angel put together an evacuation plan and instruct their students with help of Colossus and Nightcrawler. On Genosha, Wolverine talks to Storm about the place. She tells him that this was at one time a haven for hundreds of mutants there. Magneto brought in a bunch of mutants and gave them a home. But they left for Xavier's when they saw that Eric was actually training them to be an army instead of giving them sanctuary. Because of this, Magneto was left broken and a hermit, barely surviving off the supplies they take from the outside world. Storm tells Logan that she came initially because she thought Genosha was a place that would help mutants, and that she stayed because she still believed in that idea. But lately, they haven't been doing anything other than watching mutants across the world tear themselves apart and be torn apart. Mr. Sinister's jet lands on the island, next to Wolverine, Magneto, and Storm. They're all ready to fight whoever comes out. The door opens with Mystique surprised of their caution, asking why they didn't get her message. Magneto has been sulking, unable to focus on anything real or keep track. Storm asks what Raven learned from Essex. Enraged, Mystique tells them that Sinister used her brotherhood to make weapons of mass destruction to kill mutant kind. Wolverine knows his next target. Xavier's school. Storm says that they have to go warn the school. Magneto protests, asking what the point is. He starts to recognize Wolverine from his Vietnam tour, way back in the day. He says, "You're the man who saved my life." He starts trying to convince him of the terror the world is capable of because of Vietnam, what they experienced together. Wolverine responds saying that the man he was is gone, and that now is important. Never in his life has Logan worked for a good man. Xavier actually gives a shit, so that means I do too. Wolverine and Storm take her jet and fly off, leaving Genosha behind. Mystique looks at Magneto. He ponders. At the mansion, Iceman and Angel help mutants get ready to move with the help of Colossus and Nightcrawler. They instruct different students, telling them to help each other. Iceman comes out to John, or he doesn't come out to John, he's already out, but he comes to John and the Morlocks. John talks to Bobby, asking if they're in danger. Bobby tells him in confidence that they're moving the mutants to their safety, to a remote location over in San Francisco, the island. John tells him that he's ready to stand up and fight if needed. Bobby appreciates the offer. John tells him that he'll do anything to protect his loved ones. In his case, it's James and the Morlocks. In Bobby's, it's Angel. Not you, Angel, the character. John goes back to his brother and his people. James asks if they're going to be okay, and John tells him not to worry because his big brother is an X-Man. James smiles. Colossus comes over to meet some of the Morlocks, offering his help. Angel runs emergency drills with the students. He sees Iceman looking at him. They lovingly take a moment to, appreciate each other. In the garage area, Beast works on configuring the X-Jets. He's approached by Nightcrawler, dropping off some of the equipment. Kurt notices Beast's stress and worry and talks to him. Beast tells him that they shouldn't have to move because of a threat perpetrated by humans. Where's the government? Where are the Avengers? Kurt tells him that he felt that same way for a long time. But what got him through was faith. Not just in God, but people. Beast contemplates this, thanking Kurt, and gets back to work. In the village of New York City, Scott and Jean pack their trucks up with supplies. They're looked at by locals as celebrities because obviously the X-Men are famous at this point. The two talk about the next step for the school and them. Jean tells Scott he has a chance to help people in a bigger way than anyone. She loves him and wants him to realize their responsibility as people who put on Xavier's uniforms. Before Scott can respond, the two are attacked by Sentinel soldiers in the streets. They fight back, trying to protect the civilians around them. Mr. Sinister reveals himself to them, approaching Scott and Jean. They say they see him with Magneto's helmet. Essex tries convincing Scott that they're on the same side, that both have doubts about their people, and how everything would be simpler if mutants weren't around. Scott doesn't fall for it, therefore Sinister uses his power, telling him to attack the people around him. Scott does this while Jean is bombarded with Sentinels. She gets a chance to release Sinister's hold on Scott with her psychic ability. She goes after Sinister himself, but can't get in his head because of the helmet. Sinister tells her to have a heart attack, so she falls on the floor, gasping for life. Scott rushes to her aid. Sinister leaves, saying that this is a small taste of what's going to happen to the school. Scott calls 911 and are picked up by an ambulance. Jean is in the hospital room with Scott. She'll be okay, but just needs proper rest. Scott looks at Jean, a woman he loves, and realizes that his people are the family he was looking for with her. Scott leaves Jean in the hospital's care to go get his school ready to leave. At the school, Xavier wakes up, still weak. He goes looking for his people and sees a school getting ready for evacuation. He finds the X-Men scattered, trying to figure out their next move. A jet lands near the school, bringing Wolverine and Storm. They tell Xavier and his team that the Sinister is coming for the school really soon to wipe out the mutants. The room fills with voices arguing about their next step. Suddenly, a psychic message is broadcasted throughout the school to every mutant from Sinister. He says that there's no point in running. He knows where they're headed. So he and his people destroyed the island off the coast of San Francisco. He destroyed that shit, There's nowhere to run. There's only right versus us, is what Sinister tells them. He gives them 1 hour to prepare for the extermination. The arguing grows louder. Mutants panic. Families hold each other. The school is about to plummet into chaos until Cyclops comes back, taking control of the situation. He tells his people they're going to focus on helping each other and survive rather than panic. The mutants, Morlocks, X-Men, and Xavier are behind him. They start the evacuation. Cyclops tells Iceman and Angel to help Beast shepherd people to escape vessels. Colossus and Nightcrawler will guard the escaping students in the east wing of the mansion. Cyclops and Wolverine will cover the west wing. Storm handles aerial recon and all the aerial threats. Thunderbird comes to Scott, offering his help. He's sent to escort Xavier and the Morlocks to the ships with Iceman and Angel. While the professor uses his psychic power to calm the escaping mutants, everyone goes to their positions. So it's not chaotic. It's actually single file, one at a time. It's been an hour, and the attack begins slowly. Sinister approaches Colossus and Nightcrawler at the East Wing with 20 Sentinel soldiers. He says that it's good to see them at the end, and that it's finally their time. Peter and Kurt fight off the soldiers. Sinister keeps moving past them deeper in the school with a Sentinel escort. Cyclops and Wolverine work together to fight the soldiers in the west side. Because west side, Westchester. Storm blasts lightning at 10 different airships filled with soldiers. She's chased by ships shooting at her. The X-Men are getting overwhelmed. Xavier continues with the escaping mutants, but is contacted by Sinister directly. Essex calls him a tired old man, cowering behind his children, letting them die for him. He tells him to come back and face him man to man. If Sinister kills Xavier, the mutants go back from calm to chaotic. Because obviously Xavier has he's like, hey, chill the F out, chill the F out, chill the F out. You know, John notices Xavier gone. His brother James asks him to go protect the nice man. Thunderbird asks Iceman and Angel to protect his brother and his people. He hugs James. The X-Man goes into battle. The mansion itself is being shot at and destroyed by soldiers and gunships. It's covered in fire. Sinister stands in front of the wreckage triumphantly. He's approached by Xavier, who sees him wear the helmet of his old friend. Sinister asks if he has any last words. Xavier responds, "Only 4. To me, my X-Man." Wolverine launches at Sinister from behind, stabbing him while Nightcrawler teleports next to Essex, grabbing the helmet from his head. Charles acts quickly and grabs mental hold of Sinister, blocking any psychic attack. Colossus and Thunderbird take out the Sentinel guarding Sinister. The Sentinels guarding Sinister. Storm uses lightning to destroy the ships attacking the school and puts out the fire with her wind. Cyclops comes next to Xavier, making him proud. The new team come to Xavier: Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Thunderbird. And this moment reminisces from one of my favorite moments in the MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where they all come together. It's the amazing music, the amazing camera work. It's that moment for the X-Men here. Still held by Xavier, Sinister tells them more soldiers are coming, and they can't stop the extinction from happening. Cyclops lays the plan. Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine go to the escaping mutants and fight off the rest of the soldiers. Storm keeps the skies clear until Beast and the others get the rest of the mutants out of danger. Cyclops and Thunderbird stay with Xavier and protect them until it's time to go. They all know their place, so they get to work. Sinister laughs at Scott, asking if he can't protect Jean, how is he going to protect a whole group of people? He says because he tried protecting her alone. This time, he's not. This is intercut with footage of Jean at a hospital being protecting the people from Sentinel soldiers who are coming for her. She's going to be assassinated, but she fights back because she's badass. Right. The X-Men fight the Sentinels, protecting their people. Storm is in the air, seeing 20 or more aircrafts charging at her. She keeps her position, waiting for them. Suddenly, they're all stopped midair. The jets are thrown around, crashing into each other. Storm is shocked and sees flying towards her Magneto.
Oh my God.
He decided to do the right thing and come back. Essex's jet lands near Beast and the mutants. She opens it to them. Mystique. Beast asks her what her and Magneto are up to. She tells him to make things right. There is hope after all. Cyclops and Thunderbird fight soldiers while protecting Xavier. Thunderbird is shot fatally and falls to the ground. Cyclops takes care of the last of the Sentinels and helps John to his feet. Magneto and Storm land near Xavier. Eric tells Charles that he is sorry and ready to save their people. the right way. Scott says they need to go before John bleeds out. Xavier tells him that he and Magneto will be right behind them. Storm flies Scott and John to the escape vessels. Xavier and Eric are left with Sinister at the destroyed school. No more soldiers are fighting. Eric sees his former helmet on the ground, the one that Essex was wearing. He uses his power of controlling metal to crush it.
Yeah.
Sinister chuckles because Xavier and Eric know they aren't going anywhere. All the X-Men make it to the X-Jets. They're with their people. Scott lays John with James and the Morlocks. Mystique takes off, telling the rest to follow her. The rest of the Jets follow. Cyclops tells them they're not leaving without Xavier. Beast tells him this was Xavier's plan from the start. Charles contacts Scott psychically, telling him how proud he is of him and his people, and that he knew from the day Jean and Beast brought him in, he was special. The professor says goodbye to his X-Man. Xavier and Eric watch the mutants fly away to somewhere else safe. Charles lets go of Sinister. The three stand there. Essex reveals a chemical bomb he had for a last resort. He's alone, angry, and desperate. He'll activate the bomb, taking whoever he can down with him. Xavier tells him that they agree on one thing. It's their time. Sinister activates the bomb, spreading a chemical agent lethal to mutants called the Legacy Virus. The mutants watch the gas spread all over the school, clouding everything. On the plane, James and the Morlocks comfort Thunderbird in his final moments. He tells them that he kept them safe. James is proud of him, as an X-Man, a hero, a brother. John dies. The planes fly off. Days later, a memorial is held for Xavier, Magneto, and Thunderbird in a foreign field. The X-Men, the Morlocks, Mystique, and hundreds of other mutants are there. Beast speaks about how the professor believed in purpose, and how everyone would fulfill their whether they knew it or not. The scene is cut with X-Jets landing in Genosha, and the mutants establishing their new home. A new school called Utopia is built by the mutants, who help each other. Mystique makes peace with Jean. Wolverine stays to teach self-defense with Storm. Colossus and Nightcrawler have found their home. Iceman and Angel watch over James and the Morlocks. Beast establishes a relationship with foreign human diplomats. Jean and Scott get married. Their people are safe. They're home. Post-credit scene for your ass, and then we'll be done. In a lab in Utopia, Beast shows Scott new technology and scientific theory that he's been researching into. The world is filling up with problems mutant kind has to face. Disease, hunger, viruses. Maybe the solution isn't with them now, but in the future. He unveils a modified quantum tunnel he got from his colleague, Dr. Hank Pym. Cyclops responds, "I'm listening. The X-Men will return." End of Phase 2.
Wow, Julius.
Ow.
How do you feel after all that?
I feel like an X-Men.
You're a madman, is what you are. You did it, man.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be disappointed now with anything that the MCU does. After all that.
Oh my god. They'll stutter less. So
yeah.
That's bad.
Well,
that's good. It's okay.
No, that was awesome, man.
Thank you.
That was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
That was really well thought out.
Thank you.
I could tell you put a lot of hard work in it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's how many pages? This 27 pages of a whole phase. So,
Jesus.
yeah. I was just like, what do I want to see?
Yeah.
So I wrote it down. My voice hurts.
I loved it, man.
Thank you.
I thought you did a really fantastic job.
Thank you.
And I hope the MCU has the guts to do what you wrote down. Yeah, do something like that, because that's some really good stuff here.
Thank you.
You know,
Are you?
It could actually be like a treatment or something, and you could take it over there and pitch it.
Let's send it right now.
You know,
I don't know where their office is, but we'll find it.
You should post it.
Yeah.
Like, here's my 27 pages of what they should do with the X-Men.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah. Oh God, dude. Any thoughts? Any last thoughts? About the X-Men, about this pitch? I'm tired, because, was your favorite the Hulk and Wolverine one?
I think it was, but I mean, the X-Men Legacy one is just, I've seen them all come together, because we've never really seen it like that,
yeah.
and
with the X-Men.
Yeah, and And same thing with the Fantastic Four. When we see both of those properties properly done and coming together for the first time, coming into their own, it's going to be something special. So I would have to say the X-Men Legacy is up there with the Hulk versus Wolverine.
Yeah.
Those were pretty insane.
Thank you. Excuse me. I think.
All right, Banshee.
No, I'm not including Banshee. Yeah, man. I don't know. I just want something cool with the X-Men. Something very personal with the X-Men. And if we get it like this or like in a better way, I'm down. Let's go. Let me just let everyone know there is a phase 3 to this. It's not ready yet, but it's gonna be, and it's the end. It's like it's the end of the X-Men story that I have. So get ready.
I can't wait.
It will come at some point. I'm not sure when. I'm working on it.
Okay.
It probably won't be as in depth as this, but it'll be something. Probably more along the lines of in terms of time and work. Probably along the lines of the first part of the X-Men videos we have. But it's coming. Don't worry. Probably like July or something.
Cool, man.
That's when we'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last words on the X-Men? Should I end it?
Yeah. Let's conclude it.
It's time to go, everybody. Are you ready for the X-Men in the MCU? What did you think of the pitches? What was your favorite? Storm, Thunderbird and the Morlocks, Colossus and Nightcrawler, Wolverine vs. Hulk, or X-Men Legacy? Let us know. What do you want to see in the next phase, if you want to see anything? I have some cool ideas, but maybe you can help in them. I'm Julius.
I'm Angel.
X-Men forever, everybody. All right. Let's go retire. The GOAT Podcast is proof you don't have to look any further for movie news, reviews, trailer reactions, or special discussions. Subscribe, get notified about what's going on, and I promise you'll be entertained by our daily content on YouTube. If you want more, we're on Twitter at GOAT Film Podcast, Instagram The GOAT Podcast, and the GOAT Movie Group on Facebook. Get connected with us, see what's happening, and make sure to love it while you're doing so.